Hello and welcome. I'm Fuzzy Logic and this is Solve. And today I will be doing the army review for the Empire of Men. Must admit, not one of my favourite armies. Good all-rounders. They have plenty of good units all over. I've just struggled to utilise them. And they just don't quite do it for me usually. But here we go. This is my opinions on the list and the ones I try to run when I'm playing ranked with them. So first of all, let's have a look at the commanders. We've got three commanders. We got the captain, the knight commander, and the wizard. Two fighty, one wizard. So the captain. Um, and we have one unique mount, which is the griffin. Standard griffin, which you may see in the other videos. But here we go. So captain, standard 4-4, 3 on the defense, a little lower on that side, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, and 8 discipline. Hand weapon and shield, you can go great weapon, two-handed weapon. I would generally try and do one of these two. You can also pop a pair of pistols on him, short range, but if you're on the Griffin, it's nice because you can fly around and pop a few shots here and there, and at skill 4, they're pretty dangerous. It's tempting to tool this guy up a bit with a few skills and weapon enchantments, but not the best because he's not got an amazing stat line. But still, he can be a potent force and he can fly around and do some good work. Yes, and I should talk about his ability, which is Inspire Valor. Nice little ability, activate once per game, give all your units +1 combat score until the end of the turn. Sometimes not impactful, sometimes very impactful. If it makes you make a leadership that holds the line on an important turn, it can be great. Sometimes you just don't roll the dice, or it doesn't make a difference because all the combats are big one way or the other. So it can be a good ability. The Knight Commander next, a far more aggressive hero. More expensive too, at the 70 point mark with the Lance and Shield. You can cheapen him up with the Sword and Shield if you like, or a great weapon for more consistent strength. It does come with heavy armor, so it's not bad to pop a great weapon on him. Same human stat line except with heavy armor, so he always has the heavy armor, so it's going to be 4-4. If you're running the shield, then 5, great weapon, then 4. Defense, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, 8 discipline. His main thing is Furious Charge, which is a one-off. Him and his unit get to re-roll attack rolls, so that is very nice. You want to be, you can use it off the charge as well. That's a bit of a deceptive name, but so you can put him in a few different units and try and utilize that, but it can make hopefully the damage output from his unit more reliable. Yeah, so alright, but a bit pricey. Again, do you tool him up? Not so sure. Comes with 1 turn reroll to hit, so maybe you give him some more damage type items and weapon enchantments. It's definitely a possibility, but it's just how many points you want to sink into him is the question. And then you have the wizard, who's my favourite out of the 3. Fine stat line, not fighty, but skillful maybe makes him a little more resilient when fighting other heroes, and he can hurt people a bit. It's not the best, but not the worst either. Spell selection, he's got a very decent set of spells here. I'd say he doesn't have the only one he doesn't have that I really like is rerolls hit Primal Fury. So that's an excellent spell, but he's got a good set of others. So he's got Fireball and Shadow Bolt. Range damage, I like the Fireball. It's dicier, spikier, but I like it out of those two. We've got Hex of Ruin, which is an excellent spell. -3 defense means things die a hell of a lot easier. Radiant Shield, also good for making your tanky unit survive longer. I'm a fan, although not so amazing. but it's a good spell. Divine Favor is one of the few armies I would consider taking Divine Favor, and I think I have, because plus one skill when ranged suddenly makes your handguns far more effective. So I am a fan of the Divine Favor skill. It's not bad. It's definitely an option, and it's a cheaper spell, so it's definitely something worth considering. And then finally a Frost Ward, plus 2 to the saves. I've not played around with this. Maybe I should. It's an interesting one, and it could be quite good. Fortunately, it makes your attacks less impactful. Uh, you must reroll successful attacks and ranged attack rolls, but um, does mean that you are tanky. So an interesting choice there. Okay, so onwards and battle linewards. So we've got 4 options here. We've got and some quite nice budget options. We've got the Imperial Swords and the Imperial Spears. So we'll look at them together because the only difference is their weapon. So we have skill 3, power 3, defense 4 with the shields, 1 attack, 1 wound, discipline 7. Spears, fighting more ranks because of the spear, and swords get +1 power on the charge. So run spears if you want a bigger block, and more attacks coming out of the bigger block. Run swords if you're running small blocks. I prefer the small blocks, so I'd take the swords pretty much every day of the week. Now, onto the halberds. Let's do the foot knights, which are the elite infantry, and they are effectively a similar stat line to swords. They are 8 points instead of 6. So they are a fair chunk more expensive, but they are a lot more defensive. You can run them with great weapons, which makes them 9 points a model. An interesting idea. It's not the worst plan, but I'm not sure it's the best either. It's a tanky unit or an offensive unit. It is skill 4, so great weapons are a decent call on it. But yeah, anyway, so skill 4, power 3, defense 4 base, 5 with the armor, 1 attack, 1 wound, discipline 8. The thing about them is they are on the slower side, with the -1 move from heavy armor. But they are a very solid unit, and you can pick your poison on the great weapon for offensive or hand weapon and shield for defensive. It depends what else you're running, I think. And then you've got the halberds. So halberds again, 6 points model. 3 skill, 3 power, 3 defense, 1 attack, 1 wound, 7 discipline, but halberd. So halberd gives you consistency. Damage saves against this weapons are never better than a 4+. So realistically, per every 4 of these guys, you should do a wound a turn. That's how it works, because you're generally hitting on 3s, and on 4s, not 3s, at skill 3. So you hit on 4s, you hit half your hits, and then unless they are really low defense and lower than your power, they will be saving on a 4+, so they save half. So it's yeah, and that's how it kind of lines up for the old halberds. Okay, and now from the halberds on to the fast attack. So we've got 2 options in here. They both start at 19 points. Let's start the Imperial Knights. A good, solid unit. Not the best, not the worst. They are just you can run them in a few different ways. And weapon shield, great weapon, light, lance and shield, which is, ideally the lance and shield keeps the defense high, but you get the extra power on the charge. It is nice, but if you haven't got the 10 points it costs extra to run on 5, you haven't got the 2 points per model, it's not a must. With skill 4 and defense 5, they are a tanky unit, but they can pack a punch on the charge, but they don't necessarily don't expect the world from them. They will hold down a flank. They should beat pack of dogs, although they'll take damage when they do it. But yeah, that's them. They are a little slower on the cavalry side because of the heavy armor. But yeah, I think a valid choice and not a bad unit. The other interesting unit is the Imperial Light Cav. Harder to use for sure. They are um, a really interesting unit. So let's go through them. So skill 3, power 3, defense 3, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, 7 discipline. They are but their equipment is what's really interesting. So so the hand weapon, so +1 power on the charge makes them power 4 on the charge. Not bad. And 2 pistols, range 18, 2 shots at power 4. Only skill 3, but yeah, you can pop off quite a few shots with the old light cav and run around and shoot people. They are hard to use because you ideally want to threaten people constantly with them. You want to put as many shots into somebody as you can, but you don't want to fight them. You want to hang back, pepper them with shots, but make sure they can't just ignore you. So if they turn a flank, you charge and you say, okay, this is vulnerable, I'm going for it. But that's what you want to do with them, but it's not the easiest thing to pull off. But it can be a good unit. Defense 3 means they are vulnerable to shooting. Any like bolt thrower type thing will have a field day when he's shooting at them. So you've got to try and look after them. Okay, now quite a section for them. The Imperial Armory, range support, they like to call it. So these archers and crossbows are exactly the same. So range 30, power 3, skill 3, power 3 for fighting, defense 3, 1 attack, 1 wound, 7 discipline. Fine. 8 points model. They're fine. Um, decent range, decent power. They can fight a little. They're a fine unit. And if I show you the crossbows, exactly the same. It's just flavour for which one you want to choose at the moment. So all well and good. But then we get on to, again, similar with the dwarfs, the difference between handguns and the bows or crossbows are shorter range, higher power. I'd prefer these. Power 4 is a good point to be hitting for the same points cost. The decrease in range is usually worth it. Most of the time, I'd say. So we then go into the big boys, the cannon. So cannon, nice piece, good lethal strike, power 8, D3 hits. Nice piece of artillery. Try and take out the tough stuff. It's 60 points is not cheap. It's not the most expensive piece. You got to set it up well. You got to get those line of sights going, which is the trick to using this piece well. And then finally you have the mortar, which is their version of stone thrower. Slightly different because it's 1 lower power but +1 on the hits, D3 +1 hits, which is interesting. I think it all depends on your target, right? So some things it'll be better against and some things it'll be worse. If somebody's defense 3, the mortar is preferred, but if somebody is defense 4 or 5, then you prefer a catapult. So yeah, that is the choice, and yeah, not a bad price for what it does. Again, setup's important. And there you have it, the Imperial Empire of Man's lineup. So let's run through my lists. And we'll start with the Wizard. This is a classic, my version of the Gun Wizard, but you can find all sorts of different flavors of it out there. And I'm sure some are better than mine. I have gone cannon, 13 handguns with the mage, with Hexabrune and Divine Favor. Idea being you you're trying to keep people away while you lay down some fire. Um, you use Divine Favor to make the handguns hit better. You just put in some good shots there. Um, and then Hex Rune is more for combat. So your Foot Knights, your Imperial Knights, which I've gone cheap on and only taken the hand weapon and shield, uh, both benefit from Hex to lower their defense because you've got the skill at skill 4 in these two units, but you haven't got the power necessarily. So that power Hex Rune can be for that. Also can be used at ranged if you're shooting the handguns at things as well. So that's my particular take on it. I think it's probably not the best. I haven't spent a lot of time developing it, and I think I've seen versions I prefer. So next we have a the captain, which is pretty much, if not entirely, a direct lift off Beodren's list. So credit him for this one. I quite like it. I'm definitely learning a bit more with it. Um, Again, these like have a lot of points in them, and you don't want to fight with them until later in the day. You want to shoot, and then only take a fight when it benefits you. So that is something I've got to learn, and but yeah, I think they've got potential, but they're just harder to use. You've got the halberds again for consistent anti-high toughness targets, again with the cannon, so those two are for that. You've got Imperial Swords, just a solid infantry unit, and a Griffin hero, who is, yeah, I mean, he's a nice piece. You run around with your pistol and cruelty, so you're shooting every turn. You're not in combat with 2 shots at strength 4, skill high to hit well. Um, I have gone cheaper to get in an extra model on the halberds. I've taken off a hand weapon and given him as 2 hand weapons, but you can do that anyway. So he's just to run around, fly around, shoot some people, and then pick a fight, hopefully, when the time comes. Then finally we've got my take on the Knight Commander, and so this again is taken from inspiration from someone else. It's not a lift of anyone's list directly, but it's an interesting concept which I want to try out more. So we've got a cannon again. I do like the cannon. Solves a lot of problems and provides a bit of ranged threat for the Imperials. Uh, then we got 3 foot knight, infantries that will march up the field. Bit of a toolkit, so you've got your tanky unit, you've got your tin opener unit, and you've got just an all-rounder, and then you've got your real hammer right here. So the captain is just packing a great weapon for a bit of consistency on the damage. Heavy armor, furious charge obviously being the main thing he gives, and he's sitting in a larger unit of Imperial Knights with Banner of Fury. So this unit is on the charge, strength 6, skill 4, and 1 off I can furious charge it to reroll to hit. So that's the idea. You absolutely, like, they're tough, and they will, if you get the charge, and you need to get the charge with this unit, you will hopefully beat the snot out of something when you get that charge. So that's the aim. I haven't given it a lot of runs, but yeah. So and there you go. That is my thoughts and my builds on the Empire of Man. I'm by no means an expert on the Empire of Man. One of my least played factions, I think. But definitely plenty you can do there. But yeah, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I shall see you on the ranked ladder.